everybody. Welcome to the Why So Curious podcast. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Liz. You might be wondering, what is the Why So Curious podcast? So let us tell you a little bit of information. So the Why So Curious podcast is about feeding your curiosity by listening to a podcast that will look under every rock and behind every curtain to uncover the truth that's been hidden by lies from abuse and trauma. Now, the most satisfying revenge is living a thriving life where you are the author of your own story and not your abuser. And welcome back to...
We're in season 2, episode 2, and hey there, Mother Fighters, it is Trauma Porn Tuesday. So everybody loves a little trauma porn, right?
Everybody loves trauma porn.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get it here because that's not what this is about. What this is about is hearing from trauma thrivers that have endured some scary stuff, but they came out strong and confident, and now they're walking in their triumph and not their trauma.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And so last time Liz shared a bit of her story with you and got vulnerable and made everybody cry, but at the same time really inspired a lot of people because, you know, we love to feature the triumph. Today I'm going to take a little bit of a different route because I've shared enough with you all to know that I've experienced my own sexual trauma as well, starting as a little girl. And my job, what I do on a day-to-day basis is I do everything I can to raise awareness so that our kids are protected from the trauma that our kids are enduring. And I'm just like really noticing something pretty nefarious is going on. And I just want to shine a light on it today because part of everything that I do is just constantly researching and staying up to date with what the latest numbers are. So as my program that we present for parents, for kids, for whomever is relevant, we're keeping up with things. And
the name of your program again?
Oh yeah, the name of my program is Power Over Predators, because that's what we want is power over those predators. But I want to read something to you guys real quick. So the latest research that just came out is startling to me because if we don't talk about this and if we don't make some headway, we are going to have a lot of kids that are not going to be thriving. I mean, there's already too many that are stuck in trauma because nobody's talking about this stuff. But the numbers came out. So in 2021, everybody knows, I don't know, maybe you don't know, research is always about 2 years behind just because it takes a long time to crunch all of this data. But there were 588,229 victims of child abuse in 2021. Most cases were amongst the young ones. 127,499 victims were 1 year old and younger. And then 138,128 victims between the ages of 2 and 5. So we can relate to this category.
We can.
Right?
But can we pause on that for just a moment?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but my heart literally just leapt out of my chest.
Yeah. Because
I know what it was like to be that little one. So parents, concerned adults, just take a moment and think about a 2-year-old. A 3, 4, 5-year-old, limited vocabulary, limited mobility in some cases. Just pause and think about that. Go ahead. Yeah, well, I mean, and we don't want to look at it, but we have to because we're seeing the results of not looking at it, and they are not pretty. No. Because if you want to know why we're in the mental health crisis that we're in today, hello, it's connecting the dots, right? You can't just focus on the mental health crisis. It's how did we get here? That's the question that I always ask. How did we get here? Well, you nailed it on the head. The reason why are the little ones the ones that are being abused more than the older ones? Because exactly from what you said, they don't have a voice. They cannot get out of the situation. They are completely dependent upon the scenarios that they're in. They have no choice and they have no voice. And so if we are not doing our due diligence to help kids understand the signs of a predator, teaching kids the definitions of abuse, teaching kids personal body safety, then we are just leaving them out to be shredded, And again, that's why
I started the organization that I did because the question that I asked myself when I finally got to my thriving place was, what if somebody would have talked to me when I was little? What if somebody would have, and I think one of the key things was just like really recognizing that predators are not easy to spot. An abusive person is not easy to spot, which is why they get away with it so well. Right. And so what I wanted to do was just play a little bit for you all of our part of the program that we use in the schools, or that is available to you to just go to our website, poweroverpredators.org, and you can watch the videos. And then these are videos that I encourage people to just sit down with their kids and watch, because you don't have to be the one saying the bad stuff or the hard stuff. Right. And then at the same time, yes, this makes Sophie stressed out. She's whining over here. She's like, okay, I don't like hearing about kids being abused. I don't like hearing about kids being abused either, but it's going to keep going if we don't do something about it. So I'm going to play a little bit from here, from what we talk about and what we're teaching kids. Oh, there she goes. What we're teaching kids is how the key to survival, right? So what is it going to take to survive? So let's play this for just a second here.
Your survival depends on knowing who the enemy is. It's necessary to understand their characteristics and strategies. If the enemy is in your camp, they can take you out easily. The enemy we will be referring to is known as a predator. A predator can be anyone.
Okay, just a simple little tidbit right there. But what's the key to survival? It's funny, we were having this conversation earlier, and like the first thing that comes to your mind is what?
The key to survival?
Yeah.
Speaking up.
Okay, speaking up. But like if you're thinking about survival in general,
escape. Get away.
Get away,
Escape.
right? And so we think of water and we think of food and we think of shelter for us to survive. But if you don't know that there's a predator in your camp, then none of that stuff matters.
Not anymore.
So we have to teach the key to survival in any situation is knowing your surroundings, knowing if there's a predator in your camp. And unfortunately, people, 93% of the time, people are being abused by somebody that they know. That means if there's a predator in their camp. So, okay, I'm all about teaching kids stranger danger, right? We talk about strangers being the foundation of our relationship cake, right? But if we're in relationships with a predator and we don't know the signs, then that is where we run into some problems.
Absolutely.
Right. So like when it came to you, isn't it true that typically the ones that are abusive are the ones that have the authority in our lives?
Yes.
Yeah.
In all the instances, I hate saying that, but in all the instances that I was hurt, it was someone who had extreme authority over my life, my well-being. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that automatically puts a child in a place where they're supposed to obey, right? They're supposed to be obedient. They're supposed to respect. You hear all of these different things that you're taught as a child. But I think, so what I want to do real quickly is just give three really important things that you just need to know. Super, super simple. But there are 3 specific traps that predators set. The first trap that they set is the fact that they are masters in disguise.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
So, and like if you think about it in the animal kingdom, how does a predator win?
Sneak.
They know their environment and they know the weaknesses of those that they're going after.
They do.
Right? And so they sit and they hide. They don't just strut around saying, I'm going to eat you. They sit down and they hide. They're hiding in the trees. They're coming out from underneath the ground. So it's like,
they're patient.
They
study.
They do.
They understand where the weakness is within their prey.
Right. Yeah. So it's really important that, we can't describe a predator by what they look like.
Never.
It's always about their characteristics. And so, they're hunters, right? They know exactly what they're doing. And so they know how to set the trap. And so then what they'll do, so now if we're going to switch it back from, predators in the animal kingdom to predators that are in human form, they've already set the trap by knowing their environment, So they hide in plain sight. We don't see them. They don't go around banging a gong, like drawing attention to themselves. They are waiting for the moment, or they are using their position of power to take advantage of the vulnerable, to know how to target their prey, which is why, again, they go after the most vulnerable, which are our littles, right? And so the next thing, though, if we're talking about, and this can happen with you when you're a little all the way up to the day you die, is the next tactic that the next trap that a predator sets is to use the skill of manipulation.
Yes.
So, do you have your own definition of manipulation?
I do, and it's and again, it's based on my own personal experiences, which is taking it kind of relates back to gaslighting, shall we say? Taking a scenario or a situation and twisting it in such a way that you suddenly don't know where truth is.
Right. And I think what makes it so difficult to determine when you're being manipulated is they mix truth with lies, right? And they will use truth against you, right? Because by default, we are naturally trusting individuals. We trust that this person says they are who they say they are. And again, if it comes to somebody in authority over you and they're just using their role of authority as their form of manipulation, like I just want people to start thinking about that. And again, how are we communicating to our friends and to our family and to our children? Are we being manipulative ourselves? Because sometimes, you can be like, no. Sometimes it's just kind of a form of communication. But I mean, I'm guilty of it. I know that it's just really one of those things that can be like, okay, it would really, really, really mean so much to me. I would just be so happy. You would make me so happy if you would just do the dishes today. And it's like, why do I have to manipulate like that?
Why can't I just
say, hey, I need you to do the dishes?
Exactly.
So it's just kind of a form of communication, but that's what makes it really difficult because, I think what's even more important, I meant to say, if we can rewind a little bit, I skipped the second trap that the predator set, and that is by befriending you, right? Gaining some kind of trust, right? So it's like a coach can do that. A piano teacher can do that. A teacher can do that. Anybody can do that. Your friends can do that, right? Babysitters, people that you're meeting online. Think about it. Think about all the people that you might be meeting online. They're all trying to befriend you, right? I want more friends. I need more friends. I need more likes. I need more followers. And it's like, we're all trying to develop this really bizarre sense of trust that is not necessarily real.
Yeah.
I believe that it's actually quite manipulative. I think social media is extremely manipulative.
Oh, it's horrible.
And so it's like you can use social media for good, but I don't see a lot of people using social media for good.
You do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So anyway, first trap, they're masters of disguise. Second trap, they befriend you by approaching you, by being interested in things that you're interested in, by paying special attention to you, which again leads to why it's so difficult to determine that the third thing that they do is they're manipulating you. It's that third trap that they set is now you're in this web of manipulation and lies to where you don't know what the truth is anymore. And so I just think that, again, if we understand the importance of just realizing that it's really scary and it's really hard to look at, especially when it comes to the relationships that we're in and evaluating, right? But you and I talked about that last week with the cake. It's really important to evaluate the relationships that you're in.
100%.
Otherwise, you could be in a relationship with somebody who is not safe, who doesn't have your best interest in mind. And so if we're not teaching kids those signs, right? Like, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? I can't describe to you what a predator is going to look like. It's not a scary person in a hoodie, right? It could be somebody who has all sorts of trust in the world. And again, let me just speak to those of you who are in the church and then the faith community. I want to speak very clearly to you because what I have struggled with, I have gone and done lots of mandatory reporting trainings for institutions where children are, there a lot. And what's interesting is a lot of times that's the last thing that they do. And if you do church, you're awesome. Okay. I'm just speaking to what my personal experience for the last 20 years is. Churches aren't thinking about educating their kids and their staff and setting a guideline and a boundary for how they're going to protect the kids that they have in their care. Because what you need to know is predators specifically, and they have said it out of their own mouths, they choose the church because everybody's so trusting.
Correct.
They choose the church because of forgiveness. They know how to manipulate what's important to us and use it against us, and the kids end up suffering the consequences. It's a hard conversation to have, but if your goal is to protect innocence, which that's what our goal is, then you take those precautions and you just throw it out there, right? You don't make this an awkward conversation. You're just like, hey, here's how we do things here. Here's how we protect kids here. We're going to teach kids the signs of the predator, because if anybody shows those signs, we want those kids to be empowered to say, hey, something's not right here. Yeah. So speaking to that, right? So again, they blend in, they're masters of disguise. I cannot even tell you how many stories, which are so devastating, that have been abuse stories of kids that have trusted an adult within their church environment. It's unreal, and it's horrifying, and it's not the fault of the church, but it's the fact that we are not paying attention to the signs of predators. We are not aware of the traps that they set. So I'm talking a lot today.
That's okay. Today is your day, Carl. You just take it. You take it.
Okay. So again, let's do befriending you. They get to know you by acting like they like the things that you like. Okay. So imagine yourself explaining this to your child. How would you, like, if your kiddo was still a little, like, how would you prepare him how would you help him understand what befriending looks like?
So with my little, we did have this conversation because he was on a sport where a lot of his body was exposed. So there's a lot of potential there. And so I explained to him that if even one of his friend's parents, a brother, a sister, a sibling, somebody that he thought he knew, all of a sudden came up to him out of the blue and started saying, hey, tell me about your swimming. That's your best stroke? That was my best stroke. So what is it you like so much about that? Yeah, is it when you really open up your arms wide and all of a sudden they start bringing in that child to start exposing themselves? Now, when I say exposing themselves, it could be exposing a like, exposing something they're excited about. Exposure means a lot of different things. It is not just a visual of something, but it is the sharing, it is the knowledge, it's the expression of a thing.
Right.
So being able to find what it was that would open up my little to start sharing more and more information that, to your point that you were saying, they could put in their little notebook of tricks and start getting more and more information from that.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think that it's important for us to empower our kids to start asking the question, why? Why is this person interested in me? Why are they asking me these questions? This is not to scare everybody, because now you're all going to be like, well, I'm never going to go out into the universe again because there's just too many bad people out there. No, awareness is key. Awareness is what we all need to protect ourselves so that we can be in good relationships.
And how many times have we actually, as adults, asked ourselves the same question?
Right.
Why is somebody coming into my inner circle all of a sudden out of the blue? They've never approached me. We think about it a little bit more, I'm going to say intellectually as adults, because we have the information. Our littles don't. And it's our job to give that to them so they start thinking very intentionally.
Right.
Even at little ages. Why is somebody suddenly asking me about my favorite swimming stroke when they've never asked me about my favorite peanut butter sandwich before?
Right.
It's that kind of simplicity.
Right. For sure. And so we can keep it simple, but we are letting those kids feel the power, right? We're giving them that power because, man, when that kid, just imagine the scenario that's your boy, right? And then this person is approaching them that way. And he goes, why are you asking me about this?
Boom.
That
Mic
person's
drop.
going, what's going to happen to that person?
They're going to step back.
They are going to step back.
They will physically have a response to that because they've been caught.
They've been caught. The light has been shined. They have been exposed, right? And so it's like, whenever somebody has enough power just to use their voice and asking that one question, feel free to equip your kids to use their words, right? Just, it's not disrespectful. That child is not being disrespectful when they say why. Yeah. And it's also your way of teaching them that they matter, they deserve to be protected. And if mom and dad isn't there, you want them to have that power that they can ask that question. Because remember, over almost 600,000 kids didn't have a voice in 2021, right? Didn't have a voice and don't know how to get the help that they need. And so I am just so sick of the amount of trauma that is being inflicted upon our kids where they won't be able to live a thriving life if they never get the help that they need. And they don't ever have a voice where somebody says, no, it's your turn. You tell your story because you don't have to stay stuck in that trauma. Ooh, nothing gets me fired up more than that. And then finally, with the manipulation piece, oh, you know what? I want to go back and tell a story because you brought something up.
Okay.
Even as an adult, when Facebook came out, so I'm going to date myself, but my husband had his 25th high school reunion, and that was the first year that Facebook got really popular. And so we're getting emails, the dial-up was still the on the computer. And, but, here, everybody for the reunion, we're all going to join Facebook and we're going to have a Facebook page and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we were like stupid and we're like, okay, so we did it and we set up our account. And then the next thing I know, like all of these girls from Mike's high school started reaching out to Mike, wanting to reconnect with my Mike. And I'm like, who are you?
Please.
I'm like, what? You haven't wanted to talk to my husband in 20 years. So why now? I just remember, why now? Why? And I'm like asking my husband.
Same question though.
Why?
Do you love that? Why?
Why?
That is the best part of this.
Right. Yeah. It's easy. It's not just why so curious. Why now? Why?
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 Why are you here? Why are you back? Why did you? Why?
Why did you reach out to my husband who you have not talked to in 20 years? So anyway, my husband's like, oh, you're making too big of a deal. But I'm like,
nuh-uh.
Oh yeah, well, let's flip that. If this was my Facebook and 20 dudes that haven't talked, he's like, okay,
I get it now.
Yeah. Because he was just like, he wasn't thinking about it. But again, I was, because that's my man and you don't reach out to my man. So anyway, again, why? And why are you trying to befriend him now? That's the question. So then manipulation. I think the easiest definition for manipulation is just somebody's tricking you into believing something that's not true, that's not real, right? And I mean, sometimes pranks and punks are fun. We like to watch those videos of people that have been, but the ultimate thing is can you describe a time where you've been manipulated and you're like, okay, that didn't feel very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like
there is like that fine line, right? There, because the difference is at the end of those, as an example, the truth is is revealed. I think is the best way to put it. The truth is revealed. Everybody has the ha-ha. When you're manipulated in a negative way, that question is always there and there is no ha-ha or reveal at the end. Right.
Yeah. So it's just really important to pay attention to whenever you feel like something might be a little bit off.
It's off.
Pay close attention to that.
We've talked about it in almost every single episode. There is an intuitive side to each and every one of us, especially when we're littles, especially give this message to your littles. If something doesn't feel right, usually it's not.
Yeah. And give yourself permission to be okay with that. It's never the question, what if I'm wrong?
It's what if I'm right?
It's what if I'm right? Because if you're right, then now you know that you're in a situation where you need to get out of.
Correct.
If you ask the question, what if I'm wrong? Well, you're never going to know. I mean, if you're right, good grief. That's the whole point. And so again, it's just shifting in mindset, asking the right questions. Not, what if I'm wrong? I don't want to make a big deal out of this. I don't want to make that first person feel bad. It's like, no, if you're starting to feel something, they're making you feel bad. Yeah. So believe it. And again, I mean, this could be to any of you today for the first time realizing, man, I'm recognizing that there are people in my life that are actually really manipulative. Okay. So there you go. You've got a little bit of power. And if you watched last week's episode on the cake and the relationship development piece, now what you get to do is determine what level of relationship you're actually going to maintain with that person. And you can actually put them back in the stranger position where you have no intimacy with this person. You just know that they're an individual, but you've got to be able to make sure that you trust yourself and that find somebody who can help you put yourself in a position to where you can get back to that level of relationship to where you're safe and they don't have access to you anymore. But think about that with our kids. Again, we've just got to be a lot more diligent with our kiddos in teaching them this, empowering them this way, teaching them the correct body parts. I know I've talked about this before, but whenever you use, again, it's almost manipulative. And predators are so good at that. I've heard so many stories of predators that have taught littles that their body part is like a cookie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or their body part is a cupcake. These are things that we like and that are good. And now it becomes something that...
And it makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for littles, because cupcakes and cookies are special and you don't get them every day.
Right. And the worst one is flour. Right. So, so there's manipulative words that people use that now a child is associating that, and it just gets so confusing. So I swear, if you teach a kid the body parts, it's going to be another mic drop. I'll tell you guys one story. I have a friend who taught her daughter all the correct body parts. And she's 3 years old. She's just listening to mom, taking it all in. She's like, she's never even repeated the words. She goes, but I just taught her the words. Her dad and I taught her the words. So they're sitting at a Target. She's this little...
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
She's this little redheaded pistol, right? And she's just sitting there and she's just observing, going through the checkout. And she looks at the checkout guy and she goes, nobody touches my vagina, huh, Mom?
I love her.
Mic drop. The guy.
I love
what
her.
Did he do? His body language. I don't know what she was picking up for her to say something like that, And then her mom was like, "You're right. Nobody touches your vagina." Okay.
Love it.
How many of you cringe and want to turn the show? Because we have made those words cringeworthy, and they are not. Those words have power, and those words, that power puts the predator in their place because they realize that they cannot get away with it with that child.
Love it.
Yeah.
So empowering.
Yep.
Bless that person.
Right?
Bless them.
Yes.
Bless
Don't you
them.
want your kids to have that power so that if something like that happens to them, man, it is going to rock that person's world.
What a gift to that little as well.
Yeah.
So again, kudos all the way around.
Yeah.
All the way around.
So again, the mindset has to be, we can't have, if it's uncomfortable, ask why. Why is this uncomfortable? Is it more because it's uncomfortable for me? If it is, then it really needs, we really just need to place it where it's going to be, okay, it's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. We've got to do some work here to see something positive come as a result of this.
Amen.
So, all right, everybody, I think we've given you enough for one day. So,
Oh, but I'm so empowered by this conversation. I don't know about all of you, but I go through these sessions and all of a sudden my body feels lighter. I feel like I know more and I've learned so much more. So thank you, not only for continuing the conversation, but inspiring the conversation. I have to say thank you for that, because I know I leave these sessions with you and all of you, and I go and I talk about it with everybody I can all day long. So for each and every one of you, we continue to challenge you.
Yeah.
Talk about this, not only with your friends and your family and your littles, but anyone who needs to hear the message. Again, if you hear that voice inside of you, share it, make sure it's out there, and then tell us about it. Send us a note to our email. Again, it's podcast why so curious at gmail.com. We'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to share it with our listeners. Continue the message, continue the voice. We're here for you just as much as we know that you're here for us.
Yeah. And we appreciate you, and we hope that you will continue to listen. Share this podcast with your friends if you think that it's going to be helpful for them. So hit the like buttons, just do all the fun things that you can do with the podcasts. And again, we appreciate you. Again, if you need more information, poweroverpredators.org is where you can find all of these training videos. Press play, sit down, have a conversation with your kid. Maybe it's the first time you've ever learned any of this, and it might be just for you. Again, I learn too, even when I present, I'm reminded of things like maybe some stuff that I need to go work on, or like, oh, I let that person manipulate me, or, oh, I was manipulative in that way, and again, it's just taking a check and, just just doing what I can to do to work on the relationships that I'm in. So,
Lead by example.
exactly. All right, everybody, we appreciate you. Thank you. And we'll see you for What the F Wednesday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.